Hey everyone, welcome to the very first episode of the Coach Corner here on the NAI Women's Volleyball page. I'm Daniel Mosquita. I created this outlet to help highlight coaches, athletes, and programs that make the NAI Women's Volleyball so unique. Each episode will bring you interviews, schedule breakdowns, and the latest news across the NAI volleyball scene. Today, I have a special guest with me, Head Coach Kendra Mosher from Mount Vernon Nazarene. Coach Mosher is going on her sixth season out in the Crossroads League. She's done great, phenomenal. Um, Work with that program. We're going to talk about her schedule for the 2025 season, some returning players, and where the program's headed. So, Coach, thanks for joining us. Thanks for helping us launch the show. How's your summer going so far?
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Danny. I am really excited. And yeah, our summer's been great. I'm married and I have two young boys, a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old. So we've just been being lazy, going on some trips. So it's been really fun.
That's good to hear. So, before we start, let's talk about the 2024 season. It was another strong year. You guys were second in the conference. This is the second year you guys hosted back to back. What are some of the biggest takeaways you have from that 2024 season?
Yeah, it was a really great year. It was our best year in program history, so that's really exciting. We're really proud of that. And, I think the biggest takeaway is that we loved every minute. The first year we got to host in 2023 was really new for all of us. And
For sure.
so that was awesome. And then it just made us want to keep doing it, right? So
Hmm.
getting to host again and then, going out to Iowa for the final site was awesome. And then we got our first pool play win in
Hmm.
school history. So that was really exciting. So that's the takeaway is that we have loved all the experiences and everything that we've been able to do. And so we're just eager to keep growing and trying to create more of those experiences, if not even going further and doing a little bit more. But it's been awesome. It's more than I could have asked for when I took over this program. That's what we were hoping to do. And so I'm just really grateful that we've been able to reach some of our goals.
For sure. I was able to catch a snippet of last year's game when you guys hosted Lindsey Wilson. They're a great team coached by a great coach, but you guys were able to pull it out at the Sioux City. Sioux City's where basketball is held as well. So it's a great sight to be there. But after graduating a key player like Lissy Snifer, who had a decorated senior season, how has your team focused on, filling that important role at the net?
Yeah, Lissy did so much for our team. It's going to be just really different without her. I don't necessarily mean different as a bad thing, but it's different when you graduate a second team All-American who had over 500 kills. That you're going to notice, at least just when we first start, what that looks like and how it's different. But one thing that I am really excited about is we may not have that high of a caliber player who's taking that many balls, but we're going to be a lot more well-rounded this year. And so I'm really excited about that. I think that's going to make us harder to scout. Previous years, you would just be like, hey, stop 24. But I think we're going to have more people that get flagged on scouting reports. We're going to be spreading the ball out a little bit more well-rounded, getting our middles going. That's not really something that we're known
Hmm.
for in the Crossroads League is for our middles, and we're really excited to get them the ball. So I think it's going to be really good. I think that Lissy, a couple other leaders that we had kind of laid a good foundation of what it takes to be successful, and we're ready to pick up where we left off and, changing up some things, but I think that we're still in a really good place here.
For sure. That is one thing I noticed. I went through you guys' socials. I looked at some games. You guys just looked a little bit closer. It just seems like you guys do a lot more off the court that may help. Was there any team bonding things that you guys did off season to help build that chemistry that just everybody was playing out there for the person to the left and to the right?
Yeah, we're a really, really close-knit team. We're a team of Christian faith. So we do a lot of stuff that really instills that in our program and, trying to play for God. So we have for him as our logo, our statement that we hashtag and use for a lot of stuff. But really just we have a lot of fun, like you said, like even just going to Sioux City, that's
Hmm.
an experience that we got to make a lot of memories. But I would say our main team bonding fun things is every year that I've been a coach. So I've been a head college coach now. This will be my 8th year. And every year that I've been one, I've had a lip sync battle where we just separate the girls into random teams. And, when I first did it, it was like, this could be fun. And then now I've learned like it's fun, but it's also like, this is life or death to win this competition. And so the girls have just taken that and run with it. And I would say that's probably a fan favorite. But when you play a fall sport like women's volleyball, you move in so early. So we do
Hmm.
a ton of stuff with our team. A lot of parents or families that live nearby have us over for dinner. So sometimes it's just simple moments when we're sitting around by a campfire roasting marshmallows. That's where I think our team really becomes a unit pretty fast in that month of August before the rest of the school moves in September.
For sure. Speaking of August, looking ahead to the 2025 schedule, you've got some challenging non-conference opponents. You guys got Southern Oregon and you got Bellevue right out of the gate. What stands out to you about this upcoming season and schedule?
Yeah, really, to be frank, we've been in this zone where we've been, ranked 15 through 30 in the past 3 years. And
For sure.
it was kind of time for us to jump out of that bubble and trying to play some more competitive teams. Obviously we're in the same crossroads as Indiana Wesleyan, so we're
Hmm.
seeing them twice a year, which is boost our schedule strength. But
Hmm.
we really needed to find a way to strengthen our schedule. And every other year, our team takes a big trip. So we're going to California,
Hmm.
and that's pretty cool for a lot of our girls. We're mostly Midwestern girls. And so I think only two of the girls on our team, including the coaches, have been to California. So we're going there starting off. And then, yeah, we open up right with Bellevue. So I think it's going to be really fun for us to just see teams that we don't normally see. And a lot of those teams that we're playing were at nationals and obviously doing really well at nationals. And so I think it's going to be a great way for us to find out who we are, to
Hmm.
find out what we still need. What are some missing pieces? What does the number two team in the country have that we don't have? And so I think it's going to be eye-opening, but I'm excited. The girls are really excited to play different people. We tend to stay in the Indiana, Ohio, Illinois area, and now we're branching out. And I think that's just going to help put our program even more on the map. That's really our goal, is hopefully to compete, maybe get some wins while we're out in California to kind of help us rise with where we've been at in the past years and kind of strengthen that RPI a little bit more.
For sure, for sure. We talked about a little bit about Lissy, but you got some key returners. You got Libby Evanshine, who was an all region. You got Regan Nuss and Jalen Tang. With those players leading the way, are there any other newcomers or underclassmen that you're looking who might surprise us this season?
Yeah, we had five players that were all conference,
Hmm.
and so we only graduated one of them. So we also have Faith Maloney, our right side. But honestly, as I mentioned before, is we're really taking a shift to run the ball in our middle a lot more, and we graduated both of our starting middles. So I
Hmm.
think that's what is going to be really surprising to people, is to see whoever ends up winning the job of our starting middles this year, because they're going to be getting the ball.
Hmm.
We're changing up our offense. We're running a couple of faster plays. And I think that that is going to be very new to people who have followed MVNU volleyball to see.
Hmm.
So, we've got a couple of really strong freshman middles coming in. We've got a couple of returners who have just been training all this time and waiting for their chance to shine. And so now no returning starting middles. And so some people would be like, oh man, that's kind of scary. But I am so excited. Those girls are ready. And so those I think are going to be the people that surprise whoever ends up being our starting middles, are kind of really shock people with how well-rounded our team is going to be.
No, for sure. But we'll take a little pause real quick. I just want to go ahead and say, if you're enjoying this conversation, this interview that I'm doing with head coach Kendra Mosher, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow us across all social media platforms. Gonna find us at NAIWVB on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram as well. Just to stay up to date with NAI volleyball. Coach, we like to talk about you a little bit. We talked about the girls, we talked about 2024, but let's take a step back and talk about your coaching journey. You're an alum of MVNU, you're a decorated player. You have some records there, nothing too crazy, but you've broken some records, so you're pretty good out on the court. But how has your experience as a student influenced, your path as into coaching?
I had a really great playing experience at MVNU, and that really, like, I always loved volleyball. I always had a passion that I wanted to be a volleyball coach someday, but it really wasn't until I was at MVNU having the time of my life that I was like, I want to be a college volleyball coach someday.
Hmm.
And really, it was just about the experience, the way that my coach made me feel, the way that my teammates made me feel. I wanted to put my own spin on that, but that's really what I wanted to replicate as much as I could. And so that's really what we've been working towards, is just this experience that's more than just volleyball and winning games. Definitely want to win all the time. We talk about that all the time, but it's more about when you graduate and your 4 years at MVNU are up that you can't believe it's over. Really.
Hmm.
I kind of joke like I want my team crying on senior night. Like because I want them to be sad that they're leaving a really great chapter of their lives. And
Hmm.
so I think a lot of that just comes from my desire to give to these girls what I received. And so there's a lot of people involved in making sure that that happens, and we're trying our best. Obviously, sometimes we make mistakes, but overall, that's really what we're geared towards is just an amazing experience that the players are going to look back on and remember all their lives.
For sure. Going into your sixth season, you've done a phenomenal job. Um, at least the bottom, I think it was top four in the conference. Now you're sitting at top two back-to-back years. What keeps you motivated to leading this program?
I would say definitely just my love for the university and my love for the program. So sometimes when people kind of get into coaching, they're thinking about like I just want to win some games and then after a couple years like I'm going to try to maybe move up or move on. And there's no question in my mind that God put me in this time to be at MVNU until he says otherwise. So I'm
For
just
sure.
all in. I had my dad is an MVNU alum, so I grew up going to MVNU women's volleyball games. And so I love that. And so that keeps me motivated. It's just knowing that this is the Lord's call on my life to compete and shine for him through my platform as a coach and hopefully encouraging my players to do that. And so man, that helps me. That helps me every time that I'm, missing something for my boys or coming home at 3 a.m. from a game. Is just knowing like this is what I was called to do. And we have a lot of fun. I'd say that calling and then just the team atmosphere means so much to me. And I actually have two boys and I'll never have any daughters. And so this is like my fix of team mom. I get to have, 17 girls that I get to be around and spend time with. And so I think it's really just the combination of all those things that helps me stay motivated. And yeah, I love winning for sure. I love, crossing off goals and things like that. But I think when I am done with this someday that I'll be able to think back on all the memories and the fun time that we've had.
That's good to hear. That's a great message, and faith is very important. I love that you guys at Mount Vernon are very heavy on faith. I think that's a great message, especially right now. But what would you say defines volleyball? What are your core values? What do you guys preach to your team, and what are your goals that you guys focus on from day to day?
So we have that mentality of everything that we do is for him, for the Lord. So we encompass that in all that we do. And so, we try to combine that into every year we kind of have a theme of what that means. So maybe that's like a Bible verse that we're going off of or a different phrase. And right now, we're still kind of defining what that is for the fall, but I think when you think about Cougar volleyball, you just think about high character people that are putting their whole self into whatever they do. Our team always has a really strong GPA. They do
Hmm.
a lot in the community. We've got girls leading worship. We've got girls playing on the track team. So we just got girls involved in so much and they've been able to be successful in whatever that is. And I would say that really is kind of what defines us. And then just our culture, really positive culture, great team dynamic, and just doing everything we can to make sure that we maintain that we grow that. And it all starts with just great leaders on the team. So whether that's captains, whether that's juniors and seniors, they kind of know what it's supposed to feel like. And so, sometimes we have those moments where maybe stuff's feeling a little weird and those girls are able to step in and take charge and set some things right. And so that's been really cool for me is just to see how my team has come alongside the goals and the vision that I've had. And when I first took over the program, I changed a lot of stuff, right? Like just a new coach. And everybody was just, yes, coach, like we will do
Hmm.
it. We see your vision. And so without them buying into our culture, our dynamic, our program would not be as successful as we are. So that's been really cool. And I think when people think about Cougar volleyball, they'll definitely remember the fun environment that our team creates. And when people see us play, I think they can see that.
For sure. I know you talked about a little bit that you're going to California, kind of going to break away from the Midwest to see some other teams. Some people, recruits or fans that might not know much about MVNU Volleyball. How would you describe what makes the program special, and just give us a little taste and what you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I told people a ton of time when people ask me this that when you think about MVNU volleyball, sometimes you might look up stuff and we are one of the top three winningest programs in the NAI. So that's a pretty cool fact that we like to share, but I think it's more than the wins and the success and things that we've had. It's really just how being a part of being a part of something bigger than yourself, how that makes you feel. And, I think that we're doing a lot of great things here. We've got good facilities, all of that stuff. But without the people, none of that would matter. And our people are just awesome, whether that's within our team, the people at MVNU, just the great community feel. And that's really, I think, what's different about our team. And then also just from that competitive side is we don't we don't get complacent.
Hmm.
Some people would be like, we had the best year in school history. Like, let's just ride that out. But we are hungry all the time. And the girls, when they move in, when we start practicing, I'm gonna be able to speak into them about that, and they will just run with that. They're gonna want to achieve more goals. They're gonna want to compete against Bellevue, IWU, those really competitive teams that we're playing and just trying to set the tone, even if not this year, but for the future. And that's what really means a lot. I think is it's not just about this year. When we do anything, we're thinking about MVNU volleyball for the future and trying to set that up for success. So I think that's pretty cool for recruits to know is the people that have come before us have really laid down the foundation for us to be where we are right now. And we're hopefully doing that for future teams that'll come after us. So it's a great place. I've had nothing but a blast since I've been here, and so we like to try to pump people up and make sure they can kind of see that passion within our program.
For sure. Well, Coach, thanks for being a part of our first episode. It's been a great way to launch the show. But for fans and recruits watching, what's the best place to find MVNU Volleyball on socials? Can you plug it in?
Yeah, so we have Instagram and Facebook, I would say, are our most common that we have the most followers and people. So MVNU Women's VB on Instagram and then MVNU Volleyball on Facebook, but also WNZR.TV. They live stream all of our home games for free
Hmm.
and they are awesome. So it's free to watch. You can't beat that. And you can even go back and watch old games. So I do that sometimes when I'm bored at night, watch old games of ours. So I think there's a lot of different ways to stay connected with our team and see what our team's up to.
Perfect. That's great to hear. I appreciate you doing that. But thanks for joining us on our first episode. We're just getting things started. We have a full season ahead of interviews, analysis, and behind the scenes coming your way. So stay subscribed, Coach, and make sure you watch along. That's great to hear. I'm great that you're on this first episode with us. So until next time, I'm Danielle Mosquita, and this is the Coach's Corner. Thank you.